are listening to the most comprehensive paranormal archive on the internet.
Welcome to Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I'm sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are expenses in making these shows. And there are many ways to support the show. You can share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platforms. You can also sign up for the Patreon feed and get all the extra content there for as little as $1 a month. You can also check out the merchandise store and get all kinds of shirts and a few other items there as well, with designs made by friends of the show. And of course, you can always make donations through PayPal. And please follow friends of the show. That would be Jen, the Arcane Observer, who has her own channel and is the co-host of this show on Saturdays whenever she's able to make it. I always really appreciate her being here. If you want some great shows to listen to, any of my shows with guests have always been amazing. But just in terms of the number of shows now that she's been on, definitely recommend going through the archive and listening to all those shows if you haven't, where she's part of the conversation. Also, Ricky of the Anything is Possible podcast, who does a paranormal-themed show on Sundays that I co-host. And Michael Strange, host of Trouble Minds Radio, which I frequently co-host as well. And the Trouble Minds Radio Network, KUAP Digital Broadcasting, where you can hear all kinds of amazing shows, as well as my own, online 24/7 for free. And I think that takes care of everything there. So let's see what we can get through here. Thanks to everyone that listens, no matter how you are listening or where or when. And moving on here, this next one says, I work in construction. And it says this person is a male, 19 years old. Before I dig deep into my experience, I do not believe in the paranormal, ghosts, or anything haunting. Today I was working in an old gymnasium built in the early 1900s. I was taking a video to send to my friend, and I was walking down the hallway when I suddenly stopped at the staircase. I heard what sounded like someone erasing marker off of a whiteboard. I didn't think much about it because I don't believe in that paranormal stuff that cracks me up. I don't believe in any of that, but anyway, sorry, can't help it sometimes. So I continued with my work, and I was changing light bulbs in front of the staircase that I previously was at about an hour later. I heard the noise again, this time louder. I could feel wind, and it got freakishly chilly. So where I'm at in front of the staircase, there is no door in front of me or behind me. The hallway takes an L turn and then turns back straight again, with stairs going down maybe 4 to 5 steps. Then continuing in another part of the room. Keep in mind, I'm by myself. The facility I'm at is fenced in with only one gate entrance. All the doors to where I am are closed. So I step back, walk into the add-on that connected to the hallway, and open the door, and in there I felt the warmth from outside. The old gym has been turned into some kind of a plant, I guess I mean factory, but it's not up and running. So before you ask, it does not have the AC running. I open the door, step back in the hallway, shut the door, and I could feel a little breeze and I got chilly again. I got chills and goosebumps once again. I turned around and left work. It was almost quitting time anyway. Let me know what you think. I go back there tomorrow, so I will check it out again if I get the courage and update if anything interesting happens. And that's the end of that post. I'm wondering about if the sounds of the marker being erased is a residual, but then that wind is fascinating. I don't know if that can be a residual of, let's say, if it was a former school, then like just the rush of kids going by. I have no idea how that works. I have heard of not just chilly spots, cold spots, but air movement in places where it doesn't make sense. And I mean, I think people can usually tell if a draft is coming through. They can usually figure out where it's coming from, especially if they're not sort of already thinking paranormal to begin with. Not that I believe that anyone that thinks about paranormal things is going to automatically assume it's paranormal all the time, but just going off of this person's post here, yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that, except it seems like maybe if that was any kind of a school, which it seems like it was, or a school-like environment, and there were people that sort of were always coming and going from there and experiencing a lot of emotion over the course of any amount of time, then it could have left some activity, could cause some activity there, here and there, even if it's nothing like you would see in the movies. It's still just maybe that sound. I'd be curious about if anyone ever would hear that sound again of the erasing of the marker off of a whiteboard, especially if that place did become some kind of a factory or a plant, production plant of any kind. It wouldn't surprise me if they sometimes, when there was only a few people in there, they heard things after. Again, I don't know, because that's the post is all we have, but I have heard of accounts of places where it's the place is one type of location, but people hear sounds of something that does not fit with what goes on in the location at the current time. In other words, something that may have been happening in the past that for whatever reason is being replayed. The sound or the motion or the wind or whatever, air or whatever, repeating itself over time. Anyway, that was that's fascinating, especially when it's someone that does not believe in any of this kind of stuff. This next one says, I was once sailing across the Caribbean on a yacht. It was 3 a.m. I was at the wheel on my own. No one else was on deck. A came back on deck and froze in the spot. She turned away. I could only see her silhouette in the moonlight, but I could still tell she was petrified. She wouldn't speak. She was totally mute. I kept shouting her name, asking her to talk to me. She kept her back to me. Then, eventually, she slowly turned around. You will never guess what I just saw, she said. What? I asked frantically. She said there was the apparition of a woman behind me, looking over my shoulder, keeping an eye on the compass. A described her in detail. She described my dead grandmother exactly as she was just before she passed. A never met my grandmother and didn't even know she was dead. And that's where that one ends. And that is fascinating when the person seeing whatever they're seeing, having the paranormal experience, is seeing someone that they don't even know. but is someone that is connected to someone else who doesn't have the experience and describes that person, and then the other. And I've come across this before, and not so much that it's the same setting, but the same kind of encounter where two people are in a space and one person sees someone and then describes someone that the other person knew and had and that this that had passed away, so that it was a sort of basically a deceased loved one. So that's really fascinating. I wonder if there was a reason why the grandmother was appearing at that moment. Maybe just to, I don't know, just to say hello, or just to watch over this person that was piloting the ship. Was there a reason they appeared at that very moment to pilot that ship? But because nothing happened, there's no way to know. And I mean, I'm glad that nothing happened. But I'm just curious there. Was it sort of just a regular visit? Or was there a purpose behind it as well? Moving on to the next one here. This says, "This is my story and I want to share it. One day I was just roaming my street, talking to someone on my phone. Then I suddenly saw a shadow-like figure on the wall. I started to think that it was my own shadow, but then I saw that it was moving very fast, like it was running from one point to another. I was just still, looking at the wall. Then it vanished, and I don't understand what it was. I still think that maybe it could have been my shadow, but there are many loopholes, so I think that it was just a ghost roaming in the night." And that's where that one ends. It's a short one, but it is fascinating. Again, shadow figures. It's always also amazing when they just vanish. It's not like they move out of the way. They move out of sight. They just sort of vanish. And you don't hear that a ton, I feel like. But every once in a while, I'll come across an account like that. And again, to me, that's a pretty sure sign that's not the individual shadow that they were seeing there. I'm wondering I'm guessing there was some kind of light there, unless it was one of those situations where it's darker than dark, but they didn't say that, so I don't know with that one. Moving on to the next one here. This one's a bit longer. This says, "Years have passed and I still don't understand what that thing is or was. I know it might sound fake or silly, but I would appreciate any information you all could give me about it. The first time I encountered it was when I had just woken up and dropped a stuffed animal I was holding while sleeping. I had to look under the bed and grab it, but I saw something else under my bed. A bright white face, but it had no face. So I guess I mean features. I only saw that before I automatically fell back asleep. When I woke up, I couldn't stop thinking about it because I was absolutely certain it wasn't something I had dreamed or an illusion. I remember it very vividly, and I swear it was real. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. The second encounter was when I was walking to school around 6 a.m. I have a window that looks out onto my neighbor's house, and I don't know why I felt the urge to open it. I'm guessing they mean they were getting ready to walk to school. But anyway, I did. That's when I saw him. In the neighbor's house, sitting on a chair that moved easily. He was wearing a black hat and black suit. Then I saw another one, white and faceless, except it didn't glow like it did at night. I called my brother to come see it. I had to close the curtain to call him, and when we looked out the window again, it was gone. I should clarify that for some reason I wasn't afraid in either of uh, these encounters. I remained neutral. I was simply curious. I've been investigating, but nothing seems to match what I saw. And that's where that one ends. That's fascinating. It sounds like they saw at least two, maybe three different things. Uh, I don't know what to make of all that, except maybe they're just sensitive to these kinds of things as well. I saw face once. Well, it wasn't really a face. Here in my apartment, there's one evening. It was dark already, and I was on an earlier computer PC, and I happened to look away from my screen for a second and just see it was almost like a mask of a face, but not quite the face, like an open mouth, holes for the eyes, just kind of come up towards me and then vanish, like appear and then come up towards me, like from the ground, like from that direction, and then just vanish. And I jumped, but then nothing happened, so I was okay. Um, and I still don't know what that was, and I only ever saw that one time here. So there's so many things that happen here. It's really kind of it's hilarious in a way, but also annoying because I I'm doing this whole series of shows, as you all will hear over time if you listen to the podcast, where I'm revisiting all my experiences, and then my co-host Jen is commenting on them. We're talking about them, and I'm sure there's going to be some that I just forget and don't even think about mentioning on those shows that I'll probably mention on these shows. I don't do that on purpose, but things happen. So the memory is also weird. But moving on to the next one here. This one says, I am a truck driver. I was having a late shift, and I pushed it as far as I could, and ended up having to shut down in the middle of nowhere at what was called a rest stop, but really it was just a wide spot in the road on Highway 114. I don't even know where that is. I didn't look it up. So that night, as I was getting comfortable in the sleeper of the truck, my cab started rocking violently. I opened up the sleeper door to see what was going on. And the moment I opened the door, the truck stopped rocking, and it was silent out there. So I closed the door and started getting comfortable again. The moment I laid down, the truck started rocking violently again. Think of a cow, think of it as if a cow was scratching their back on your car, just pushing it back and forth. So this time, I got out of the truck and walked around. Nothing there. No wind, no people, and no traffic. After that, I laid down, and the rest of the night was uneventful. The next morning, I woke up to realize I had parked at a historical site where there was a massive battle during the Mexico-Texas War, where so many people died. To say the least, I never parked there again. And that's where that one ends. I don't blame them for not parking there again. I wonder if there was, there's a lot of possibilities there. One, just all that emotion of all that energy, all the emotions creating all kinds of energy from that situation, that battle, that maybe somehow, I don't know, affected the truck. It's a weird way, though, because it stopped and started. Or maybe some presences there, some souls or spirits that were wanting to get the driver's attention to sort of just be recognized, or even wondering if they were from that far back, what is this massive thing that's parked here? And just like maybe even frighten themselves, wanting this driver to go away. or just wanted to be left alone and wanted them to go away. It was where they were trying to frighten them off of there. A lot of possibilities as usual. That one, or these kinds of accounts, and yeah. Moving on to the next one here. Let's see here. This one says, one time I was at my grandparents' house for Christmas. It was 2 days before Christmas, and everyone was getting ready. But little did I know that was going to be the scariest night of my life. I went to bed in the same room as my cousins and siblings. We all stayed up and talked for a little about school and stuff, and we all peacefully went to bed. Until my older cousin said, "Did you guys hear that?" I froze. I watched a lot of horror movies, and when they said that, it was never good. I wonder how young this kid was, but kids will, when they can get away with it or find a way to do it, they'll watch a lot of things that they maybe shouldn't. Anyway, in the distance, I heard a chuckle. Then again, my cousin said, "Guys, did you hear that?" I kept silent, clutching my blanket and squeezing my eyes shut. Then my brother said, "No, what was it?" My cousin said, "I heard a baby doll laugh." Those words rang in my mind, because in fact there was a literal crib with freaking baby dolls. I was freaked out because I did hear it in the background. I said I heard a chuckle. Then there was a motion sensor light outside our door, and it lit up. I sprinted out of the room to my parents' room and slept with them, but that was the scariest night of my life. Whenever I went back there, I demanded that the dolls be taken into another room. And that's where that one ends. And yeah, I don't blame them. Even if the dolls themselves were not necessarily focuses of paranormal activity, it seems like some outside force manipulated them or caused them to go off like that. But really there is no limit on what kind of consciousness or energy can inhabit what kind of objects. I've heard of modern dolls, modern toys interacting. Yeah, I see that face in the chat there, Sweets, that meme there, and yeah, that's accurate. But I don't blame them for not wanting it. I mean, that's not just one person maybe hearing something that they could just write off as, oh, I'm imagining things. That was multiple people at the same time that heard the same thing. So even if there wasn't anything directly attached to the dolls, something still happened to manipulate them, to make them make the noises that they were programmed to make. And you hear that in a lot of cases where kids' toys will just turn on their own. Now, I have heard in rare cases it can be caused by faulty, basically the wiring in the house giving off way too much EMF, electromagnetic fields, frequencies, but beyond that, I mean, a lot of times that can be figured out based on patterns and things like that, but it doesn't sound like there was any pattern to this, except having this one time. That's all the time we have for this episode, speaking of time. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.